So we want to open up the space. If anybody wants to share, if anyone has any questions for our panelists.
All right. Thank you again for inviting me. And I'm a Brockport student, double majoring in African American Studies and African Studies as well, and psychology. And I have this book here that I was reading for my Caribbean history, the Dominican Racial Imaginary, Surveying the Landscape of Race and Nation in Hispaniola by Milagros Ricord. And I've done prior research on Dominican history and Haitian history. And so I recommend this book for anyone. And what I would like to pull from this book is that we're all racialized through the institutions that we go through. So we have 5 basic institutions, social institutions like the education system, the economy, the government, and religious and education. And mostly we experience most of our, social experiences in education or in religion, and mostly in the family. So it was very interesting to hear from John and forgot her name. I believe it was, where is she? Oh, Carla. It was very interesting to hear that from them. And I connected with them when it came to race being spoken in the family, which is very taboo, coming from a Dominican family. And I've heard, some of my family members, kind of talk down about Haitians as well. And I even, back then I used to get into a lot of online discussions about, the Dominicans and Haitian history. And I was even called a dirty Haitian, that I was not Dominican. And I was like, well, I'm proud to be Haitian if that's what it takes. Because it's sad to see how racism has an effect on people, especially in a country that's so predominantly Black. And to see that it was whitewashed through the years, especially with Rafael Trujillo. So it's very sad to see that. And with the Latino community, and I also want to agree about the Latinx and erasing the Black Latinos, because I've been seeing that too, that, the slogan Latinx, Black Lives Matter, erases, Black Latinos, because it's still going on today in Dominican Republic, for example. So with the Latinx community, I feel like we have to dismember this illusion that we're in when it comes to race and how we see ourselves. I feel like we, though we claim to be proud of our African heritage, when coming into proximity with others, especially in this country where race is definitely looked at different, it's something that we always kind of, afraid to even talk about because of how it's seen and how it's heard. So I would just like to say I agree with everyone, and thank you for your input.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for that. Can you put the name of the book in the chat? So for those of us who are trying to learn and grow and change, we can check that out. And earlier, Christina also put some information as well. If anybody has any links, any books that you think our community needs to read, please put it in the chat, okay? Yeah, Yvette?
I send you
Yes.
a couple of, you gave it to
Yes, I'm gonna put that in, Yvette. Yes, thank you for reminding me. She sent me a little bibliography of books to read. I'm gonna cut and paste. Kaya Rose, I think she had her hand up.
Yes, hello everyone.
Did I say your name wrong? How do you say your
You got it
name?
right, actually, yes, Kairos, thank you. I was really touched by all the speakers. I'm so grateful to be here to listen. I think one thing that really caught my ear was when the last speaker, I believe her name's Yvette, talked about how she associated La Negrita to something that meant beautiful and to that it was her. But then later on in life, people said that that meant something differently. So I guess my question is, what are the ways where how do people feel about reclaiming certain words in Latin culture and in Spanish language, and the ways in which we can reclaim things that have maybe negative connotations later on in life but hold beauty inside of us? How are ways that we can reclaim that in our language, whether it's in English language or Spanish language or indigenous languages?
Language is one of the most spectacular thing in the world. Uh, we are born into language. We don't choose the language that we speak. So the meanings are before us. Yes? So, like, we didn't invent them, we received them. So, in that way, ethnologists have shown in the book, in their books and in their researches that language have evolved in the same way that human have evolved. Since the 15th century, certain way of naming the black was not racist. Race, when you say race, it means the people, the white, the German race, the Spanish race. You see, it's a geographically or nationality reference. So the more than we start to re-signify, it's like hope. The word whole. How many times do you see younger people using the word whole between them? In Puerto Rico happened the same thing. Eso, perra. Perra, dog, a female dog, it was an insult. The word cabrón, it was an insult. And nowadays, people talk to each other saying cabrón like it's guy. Hey, guy. Hi, guy. Wait, hi, cabrón. You know, I'm sorry if you're offended, but we talk outside. That's the words that people use. So we acknowledge it, use the words that people use because it's important. And right now, it's so important to the question that she made. It is the meaning that have been established what doesn't allow us to say cabrón. And to keep thinking of that word as a mean, disgusting word. It's not disgusting. Disgusting is corruption. Disgusting word is discrimination. Disgusting word is racism. Not cabrón. You know what I mean? But exactly, that's very important. Your question, Kayayan, thank you for it. We have to change the meaning. We can do it, using it, talking about it, denouncing what is wrong is what you are doing, the way that you are naming us. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Yvette, you better stop. I don't think I'm gonna be able to handle all this knowledge tonight.
You need to just have Yvette on an hour for herself.
I know.
We should have Yvette out. Oh, Margarita.
Oh, you are so sweet. La quiero.
All right, so I'm gonna go to a new person. I see Karen.
Jasmine, sorry, I'm sorry. Hey, Krisha, just try to see if Jasmine's sound is back on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
Hello? Okay.
Yes,
Hi, Hi, I'm Jasmine Villatoro. I go to the Everman campus of Suffolk Community College. And first and foremost, I would like to say genuinely from the bottom of my heart, just thank you. Like, I can't, like, abrazos para todo. Like, this means so much to me because this is a conversation that I never had in my life. I've been waiting for this conversation my whole life. So I struggled a lot with my identity as an Afro-Latina. In high school, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I went to predominantly like white high school. Emmerman campus is, I would like to say, predominantly white, especially my program. So people struggle with like, who is she? You know, like, especially I also work in a space. I'm aspiring to be a future Miss educator. There's not a lot of people like me, specifically me, Latina and Black. And it's just, every time people are so confused about how, like, who I am. And like, I am also like confused about who I am. And I would just say, oh, I'm Latina. Like, I speak Spanish. My mom tells me we're Latinos. That's who we are. My dad's Honduran. My mom is Dominicana. Like, that's just, we're Latinos. We speak Spanish. We eat Spanish food. Like, and just trying to tell people like, oh, I'm Latino. But then why do I have darker color skin? Like, my mom never told me, like, why are we Black? Like, why? Like, I look in a mirror. I'm like, wait a minute though. Like, I have the same features as some of these people. Like, I look just like, I understand these people more than I understand certain other cultures. And that's all I really have to share. I'm still genuinely learning about my experience. And this forum genuinely means so much to me because this helps me like develop a sense of my identity and who I am. And I will definitely be reading everything that everyone sent. And just thank you so much.
Thank you. Can I just say, first of all, while I am sorry that you haven't had this conversation before, I'm so happy that you're doing it with us. And, you know, on behalf of everyone, you better go get them and you better show them who you are. Take your space, say your name. All right, next up, I feel like a DJ.
I grew up hearing a saying that goes, you don't lock your doors until you get robbed. And I feel that we shouldn't wait till something happens to us to take a positive experience from it, to grow from it, and to serve others through that experience, even if it wasn't our own. You know, y Karen mencionó también que ella lloró con sus compañeros, and I think we have cried. Teatro Yerba Bruja, and I'm so grateful for all of you. We have cried together, we have written together, we have been, you know, evolving and learning and doing so many things, you know, and this is one of the spaces that came just from that experience. So with that being said, let's all, you know, come from a place of love and have a moment of silence in memory of all of those innocent people who have lost their lives due to the injustice, maltreatment, or racism in our country. Thank you.
So we're gonna have a little closeout. Adriana's gonna read us a poem, and then for those who want to stay, we can stay a little afterwards, and because I know there's a few other people that want to speak. But Adriana, can you bless the space?
Yes, thank you so much. I have my two are keeping me company. If you hear them, they're just hanging out, waiting for mom to put them to bed. Once again, thank you so much. And I just want to share with you my poem Traces. I wrote this a little bit over a year ago, and it kind of expresses my feelings towards my identity and mi dominicanidad, mi afro-latinidad, entre otras cosas. I hear the drums and the pumping of my heart carries the rhythm. I could be miles away, but the smell of sancocho brings me right in. Did you know that from the leftovers given to slaves came sopa de mondongo, mofongo, rondón, tacu tacu, and Cuban quimbombo? May I remind you that Haiti was the first independent nation in the Caribbean and the first Black republic in the world. that not all Latinas look like the protagonista of a telenovela, and that Latin America and the Caribbean have the largest number of people of African ancestry outside Africa. We have been silenced by colors, tainted by the hypocrisy of our society that claims equality but looks down on us. I hear negra, and I'm proud. I feel each letter beautifies us. No one like us, emerging, greatness, reincarnating, all of our ancestry, singing in poetry lines a chant to our heritage. Yes, our heritage, the pride of being a little bit from here and a lot from there, arrodillándome ante los recuerdos que mi alma lleva, living in grace for what you claim you have granted me, repitiéndome que lucharé, lucharé y venceré el retumbe negativo de tu nombre. Oh, how many claim España es la madre tierra? How many proudly say they're descendants of Spanish and Taínos, leaving behind the ones that brought the sazón into our cultura? I don't know about you, but my traces are a remezcla that time could never erase, that history books are still putting together, puzzle pieces that little by little have been found, practices, beliefs, musical notes that were never written, but can be recited. Y aunque mi amo me mate a esa mina, no voy, porque no quiero morirme en un socavón. The past resonates through my blood. I fear nothing but to forget where I come from. I wish for my children to feel as proud as I am of my roots. I look forward to the day when what I check off on a piece of paper will not determine the quality of life I deserve, but how much my people have carried. You have carried. I have carried. We have carried. There's a heavy weight that comes with identity. I am Afro-Latina, and I, too, belong. Thank you.
Thank you, Adriana. Oh my God. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We are blessed because, you know, this space started, this talk anyway, from your talk series when it hits home. So thank you so much for that. So we've come to a close, but we're going to keep the space open a little bit. So if anybody is able to stay, they have any other questions, they want to share any concerns or thoughts. But before anybody does go, usually at this time on Tuesdays at 8, I run a writing circle. So the meeting room and the password is the same. You guys are more than welcome to join the writing circle. It's open. You can write whatever you want. But I want you guys to go to the website, teatroyerbabruja.org. We have every day we're doing something. We're offering art therapy, dance classes, public speaking, theater. We have some of our teachers here. So if you are interested in joining any of our classes, everything is free, but we are, you know, a not-for-profit. So, and we do pay our artists. So donations are very, very welcome. But teatroyerbabruja.org. I will put the website in the chat room. And we're also, this Friday, we're having an open mic, and the theme is social justice and protest. So if you want to sing, dance, if you have a film, if you have pictures, if you want to recite poetry, please come back. Check the website for all the information, but that's Friday at 7. Okay. And I don't know if Margarita wanted to say, our director, our leader, if she wanted to say anything.
Margarita.
We can't hear you, Mama.
Okay, well, sorry, I was the tech behind the cameras. So, you know, we need to do everything. But thank you so much. This is beautiful. Muchas gracias a todos los que han estado participando, new faces, or all the people. So we collaborate. Thank you so much. Yes, let's keep space open and you say everything. Thank you for on my board. I know we have Mark, I see Steve, and Hypatia, you are one of the new board members, and you really bring a lot of energy, and specifically in this time. So let's keep this open for Mrs. A Dream Come True, to see all the beautiful faces together and just having this space with a lot of artists, community members, just share space and for social change. So gracias.
So I don't know if anybody wants to share. You can just put your hand up or unmute yourself. It's a smaller crowd now. Oh no, not that many people left. Yay! Mark?
So I just want to thank everyone who spoke this evening. You spoke to our ancestors. You spoke to our spirit, to our soul, to our hearts, to our love, to our compassion, our empathy. And I'm proud to be part of this organization. I loved everyone sharing and being courageous. And that courage is necessary at a time like this when we are coming into these conflicts the way we are. But in particular, and I've said this a number of times, and Hypatia probably knows where I'm going, is I want us to keep our men of color in your thoughts, in your prayers, because we are under attack. And I've spoken to a lot of men, and Black men, brown men, men who are not as brown, maybe men that look like me, right? And we are under attack. We are being threatened by our mere existence. We are threatening to some people for whatever reason. Our women tend to not be as threatening and are accomplishing great things as a result. And I believe in our women leading us. And I'm proud of that because I was led by strong women my entire life. But the support of our men is critical because their mental health is very, very challenged right now. And I can tell you, I'll speak for myself. Since Tuesday, since George Floyd's episode, when I said enough, I felt anguish, despair, all kinds of depression, all kinds of fury, rage, and a plethora of emotion and all kinds of thoughts. I am personally dealing with my own situation where, you know, that racism is extremely evident and it's emboldened by our president or by our society or by the soil that we are living in. So men in particular are at risk. We will be pulled over perhaps and treated a little more harshly than someone else. And as a result, you know, I just ask that we keep those thoughts. We reach out to our men and we say, hey, are you okay? And when they say yes, we kind of delve in a little bit more and try to pull them, you know, into a place where they feel better about themselves and they feel more courageous because we are protectors. I'm a protector. I'm a fighter. I'm a warrior. And when I saw that man on his neck, I said to myself, I have a daughter. Mia is 9 going on 10. Mia may have lost her father had I been in that position because I may have jumped on that man and I probably would have lost my life as a result, right? So we have that conflict because we're here to protect our family, right? As a Boricua warrior, whatever it is that you are, we have those things. So I feel it's very important for us to talk about the uniqueness of the man of color in America and how threatening that can be to some people and how at risk they are on occasion. Not an excuse to feel weak. No, I don't feel weak. Not an excuse to rage and, you know, be violent either. However, you know, there are all kinds of just factors that are causing conflict within us. And I want to protect and I want to save and I want to teach and I want to learn and all those things. So I like to share that and speak from the first person so as to not generalize. I'll tell you straight up, you know, I'm having a hard time, but I know other brothers who are also having a hard time. And those who may not admit that they're having a hard time are having a hard time. So thanks again to everyone. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Mark. Mark is always so raw. Thank you so much. Steve, I see you waving your hand. You have to unmute yourself.
Steve, we cannot hear you.
On the bottom,
Microphone.
Steve. Look for
Unmute.
Got it. Got
Oh.
it. Got it. Got it. Okay. I'm done. I'm on now, right? I better
Yeah.
be on.
You're in a cathedral, or is that Grand Central Station? I don't know.
All right. Now we're good. Now we're good. Listening to Mark, and I'm thinking about how his raw story is that the story that leads to stress, depression, and security is the story we're also hearing in parallel, thanks to the final straw of George Floyd's killing. The African American community and or the flood of communication that's going on right now as the Black man in America talks, not only among themselves but to white people, because the big thing that is needed here is the extra political muscle that really supportive white groups could add to the fight. How do you grow the pizza? How do you get a bigger army to fight systemic racism, let alone these acts of police violence? They're parallel. What you talked about tonight is a mirror image of the white need to deal with its own discomfort and to talk about racism and how it's there. I'm dealing with it right now in the context of library. I'm also involved with Teatro Rebuca, but the library, where I'm a trustee, and how a couple of the trustees are afraid of dealing with the issue. White trustees, and how to communicate with them in a way that doesn't create the defensiveness on their part, but gently persuades them to look a little deeper, to get educated a little deeper, and it sounds as though the fractured class struggle within all these different Latino cultures is very much alike. And we all need public spaces to get together, to communicate with each other, because the problem solving within the Latino cultures is going to be pretty much like the problem solving that occurs with the Caucasian in the United States. And I hope we continue to be a public space. I hope we continue to, we also focuses on how the arts can persuade, can communicate, the way Margarita's play, What Killed Marcelo Lucero, did back when he was murdered by some white high school kids, Ecuadorian guy. And I hope there'll be more original art that will help open up people to understanding that their lives will be better off if they admit to their own shortcomings and try to live a better life.
Well, I think that, thank you so much, Steve. Thank you so much. I think that's you brought up a few things, but I think one thing that stood out was this idea of how we, at the Art Center, we use art to share stories, to decolonize our space, right? And there's some people who go to protest, some people who donate money, some people who self-educate, some people who, are the rebel rouser at the family barbecue. Like, you find a way that makes, that's natural to you. But we use art, and I think, as my trades, I'm a therapist by trade, so, I have to ask myself, how was I taught to pathologize my own people, right? So a lot of my work is decolonizing therapy, decolonizing mental health, you know, bringing things that are ancestral, you know, different types of meditations. I mean, that's what we did as people. Mindfulness is not something that was over there. Indigenous people, we have mindfulness is in our celebrations, in our weddings, our traditions, you know. So to be able to get in a space where we can, wherever we are, whether you're a student or you're a parent or you're a bus driver, finding that space for you guys to be able to educate yourself. But I'm talking too much. Who's next? Joe. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Acacia. How are you?
Good.
No, I just want to respond to Steve Barr because he mentioned whites. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm Pacific Islander. There is no Zoom meeting for Pacific Islanders, but I'm adopted. I was raised in a Hispanic family. I live in Brentwood. I was in the military. I went to South American countries. I just want to basically respond to Steve, because he mentioned like whites being educated. Am I correct? He did mention that, right? I think that
Right, but the need
yeah,
for whites to be educated in a way they've never been educated before.
But I honestly feel as though everybody needs to be educated,
Agreed.
not just one race. As Mark mentioned, like he's not generalizing. Like I understand what was done to George Floyd was not acceptable. Thing is that what we saw on the video camera was wrong, but there could be other sources that happened. Like the police officer knew who he was. They worked security together. There may have been an issue prior to him being arrested. I just feel like in total, we all need to be educated because it's not just the whites that are racist. I grew up in Brooklyn. I've been around. There's blacks that are racist. There's Hispanics that are racist. There's Asians that are racist. I think that in general, we all need to be educated. And I think that's how we're going to get together is if we all are educated. I think just to single out, well, whites need to be educated. I think that we all need to be educated. God forbid if a black male becomes, I don't know, he's in a high chain of command of the government, he'll be called the Uncle Tom. Or if a police officer is in an all-white precinct, he's considered a pig. Like I feel like we just all need to come together as one instead of just saying, well, whites need to be more educated. I think we all need to be educated. I think we all need to come together.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Let's see how I try this. I think that education is a key, but we cannot educate when the system is the one who promote the racism. The educational system does that, but I need to make a difference. One thing is to be racist and one thing is to be prejudiced. Racism is not from black people and Indian people to white people. Racist is from white to the other, because racist is that says that because of your skin, you don't have the same right as the white. It's an institutionalization of a prejudice. We as non-white, whatever they call us, we cannot do the same thing to white people. Do you understand? We can be prejudiced against white, and it's bad, as you say. You are right about that. There are black people and there are Indian people who are prejudiced against white. You are right, but it's not racist.
But
racism is the system that established that only white people are the one who can decide.
But what I'm saying is that, yes, racism exists, but you shouldn't undermine yourselves. Oh, because Donald Trump is racist, then I can't be successful. Look where Christy Banks is. Look where Zapatia. Look where Christina Vargas is. Yeah, it may be a little harder for us to get where we want to be, but you're undermining yourself when you're saying, oh, well, the whites are doing this to us. Like, don't undermine yourselves, you know, push forward. Yeah, I mean, there are people of color that are in higher positions because they worked hard through it. They're not saying, oh, well, because we were not given an opportunity. I feel like sometimes, and, you know, I've been pulled over by the police as well, and I'm not even Hispanic, but I just feel like when we blame, and I'm not saying that you're blaming whites, but I feel like you're undermining yourselves. Like, if you want this to happen, we all need to come together and not undermine ourselves.
Well, we don't agree. We don't agree. Let it, because it's not like that. It's not like that. We don't undermine ourselves. The system. There are a lot of people who are very well in our society from all color of skin. But it's not the same to say we all have the same opportunity, that to say that we undermine ourselves not because we cannot get to that position. There are people who can get to that position because they were against the system, because they work hard. Do you know who's the black physicist, Neil Tyson or something like that? He's a physician, no, a physicist, a físico. Yeah, bien, físico. He is a science man. He's one of the best minds. And you have to listen to all he had to go through to get to that point. Against all odds, it shouldn't be that way. That's what I'm saying.
But I
It
feel,
shouldn't be that way.
yeah, but I
You
feel
know,
like
it is easier for white people to get a scholarship. It is easier for white people to get promoted. That's not undermining ourselves. That's the system.
no, but what I'm saying is,
But I
I
do get
understand,
what
but
you're
don't allow
saying.
the
I
system,
understand.
don't allow the system to
It's not that easy not to allow that.
So I think it's
we're all powerful. I mean, we're all powerful, you know. I mean, I just feel as though is that.
Well, I think the interesting thing about this is the lens, right? And we do have to wrap this up right when it's getting like, everyone's like, woo! But I think a lot of this is looking at the lens, right? So if you think that this is about a couple of good people raising people up and that everything is about individual success, then that's one lens to look at it, versus looking at it as something systemic, right? And this was an economic situation, right? They came over here, they needed free labor. And so that was the economy, that was a greater system, and everything was built and all the laws were built to sustain that system. Right? They even had a war to sustain that system. And so if that's the lens that you look at it, and nothing really has changed, right? All the CEOs are representatives, almost everybody in the university system, for Fortune 500. I mean, if you look at all the major systems that we have, and they are all pretty homogeneous, my thing would be for everyone to ask themselves, why, right? How is that possible? Why does that remain? And what gets in the way of that changing? Because you can't tell me that in the last 400 to 500 years that wouldn't have been able to balance out, right? And so I want people to be able to have a curiosity for all of us, even all of us who think, you know, we're so set in our ways, to be able to, and again, with, you know, people are looting, people are this, people are that, and they're so focused on the what. And what I want people to walk away with is, why is that happening? Why is it that African American or Black men are disproportionately pulled over, killed, and incarcerated? Right? Why is the prison system a capitalist system, right? They need people to be in those beds. So then they lobby legislators and senators to make up laws so it's easier for people to get arrested for a petty crime, right? So there's a whole system that's going on. And, you know, I would just, yes, there are times where, you know, like first generation Latino, nobody, like I felt like I sort of did it on my own, but I didn't, right? Somebody had to accept me. You know, my culture always comes up in a job interview. I don't entertain it, right? the reason why I wear gold hoops every single day was because I went to a meeting not too long ago and somebody touched me. Don't touch me. They touched me and they said, oh, look how ethnic. And that was just like in a business meeting, you know? So imagine what type of implicit bias, what type of other thoughts come into the policy, the hiring policies, admissions policies, criminal justice policies. It's overwhelming. It's so overwhelming. And I just ask everyone, you know, just to decide, you know, to look at it from a different lens. And we've provided a lot of information for everyone to kind of, you know, read up. But any last words from anybody? Raquel?
Hey, I just wanted to say, you know, I'm Boricua and proud, but ever since I started, you know, immersing myself in these groups, I'm Boricua proud and educated. And so just going back to, I think it was Jasmine that said it, that she hadn't really had experience with like being in certain communities of learning about, you know, whether it was your culture or just the people around you, and just getting a better sense of that. So I just also want to agree that I'm on the same path, and to anyone else who, you know, may have not been, I would say, like educated on this beforehand, whether it was their own culture, like for me, it was my Puerto Rican culture, but also the Black culture in America and within Africa and other places. Just keep going. I think that it's so amazing that we can open these spaces. I am definitely going to be reading the resources that Christina dropped as well. But I just wanted to say that because Jasmine, I really related to what you said. And I hope to see you more, because teatro, I did through Suffolk Community College and through teatro. And since then, I have literally absorbed so much because, you know, Hypatia, Mark, a lot of our educators within like our workshops, they like really immerse the culture in the classes as well. And it's always like free to talk about, you know, this is such a regular thing for us. I mean, not necessarily this space, but to be so proud and to really listen to other cultures, because not only am I learning about my Puerto Rican background, I'm learning about Dominican, now, you know, Haitian and Mexican, and so much input is so valuable. So thank you everyone again.
I wanted to add, this is Dorothy Santana. This was super powerful and just an amazing conversation. And thank you for putting this together. And it just validates the work that we're doing with Latina Moms Connect, where we work to really try to help families nurture their children's identities, right? And provide them opportunities and space where they can help shape their kids' cultural narrative. And do all that. So, you know, I love this conversation, and this is exactly like what our families need. And I'm hoping that, you know, we can just carry on these conversations in our own programming. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Dorothy. So yes, Dorothy mentioned Latina Moms Connect. So if we have any Latina moms or dads and we're interested in that whole idea of bringing culture, trying to preserve culture and identity, Dorothy, can you put the website in the chat? So if you guys are interested in that. But we have come to a close. 2 hours, family, 2 hours. They say Latinos can talk, right? And their friends. That is a stereotype. Who said before the Dominicans were loud? My mother's not loud, but I am. I'll accept that. It's shut up, Mark. It is my expression, my natural expression of love and joy. And I am so joyful, and I love the fact that you guys you came and you stayed, and we had an honest conversation. I felt like this was really real, and I felt like we learned so much, and I hope to see all of your faces at our other events. And again, it's teatroyerbabruja.org. And if you want to petition that Yvette comes back another time, let me know. We try to get her back.
Thank you.
But thank you guys so much. teatroyerbabruja.org.
Love it.